lagging. That's just awesome. Daddy's home.
Cake
every night. Let's go. We got Nick and we got Pierce, but today it's me and Sean. So
yes, it's you and me.
We'll have to get a 4-way at one point.
Kinky.
Yes.
And this is off to a great start already. It's just got incredibly graphic. I'm terrified. And
yes.
we're live. Fuck yeah, we're live.
I know, it's exciting. I'm doing this live here so I can get more exposure for this thing, but I will put an edited version on the actual Cake Every Night channel probably sometime next week or the week after. So, because it's been dry lately, I've been waiting for the right opportunity to do another episode, but I'm tired of waiting for people to be available. So, just wanted to do this one.
Right. I was going to share some stuff to my page too. There's one episode that I'm going to share.
Yep. Oh, do you have the watch along thing to screen share right now, or?
Oh yeah. 1 second. Let me just screen share this.
Got some big news. Not really, but yeah. How did you guys? Yes, we did do. Me and Sean watched all 3 of them, and we were both active on Twitter. So.
Okay, here we go. We're on your Twitter account right now, but let's go to this right here. So this Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, just the same time since the MonsterVerse watch along went over so well. There's going to be a Pacific Rim watch along that Let's Talk Godzilla is putting together. This isn't the only tweet they've done, but they got a load of other people to talk about it too. So apparently a lot of people are going to do it, trying to get more people, some more traction, because the MonsterVerse watch along was a lot of fun. If Del Toro can join in this thing, it'd be fucking sweet.
That would be awesome. And Steven tonight, if somebody can get him.
Yeah, I'm sure he wouldn't mind doing it. Like, just kind of a fan thing to put together. I think it would be pretty cool to do, or even. I don't know who else would be in the movie to talk about it. Idris Elba would be kind of cool, but I'm just hoping for Del Toro. If
Find
anybody,
out who's the Mako Mori actor or actress, because I don't think she's doing anything.
I don't know. I don't think anybody's doing anything. But yeah, so there it is. There's the image right there. Watch along, April 30th, 5 p.m. Eastern time, or 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time.
So that is exciting. I'll be doing that. We'll be live streaming it if I can.
And I'll try and jump in on the live stream if I can, or I'll just be watching it. Because usually I just have my phone out and I just want to just follow along Twitter stuff. So
All right.
I'll go ahead and stop.
Sure. So today we do have a fun little discussion. And if this does go well, I'll do one for the Heisei and Millennium series too. Today we're going to be talking about the Showa era of Godzilla.
Oh yes. How's it going, Jared? How you doing?
I got to be professional and get the image here.
Oh, look at that beautiful image. Did you put that together yourself?
No.
Oh, and here I thought you had talent.
I'm not that good. This is the Showa era of Godzilla. It spanned from 1954 to 1975.
Love the Showa. I got my little box set.
Godzilla entered the series coming out of the water, and he left going back into the water. So, great. Yep. So I think if there's anything you want to say before, like your overall opinion of the era, and then we can get into the pros and cons.
I really love the Showa era. I think a few years ago, my favorite era was the Heisei, but I kind of more recently, I've fallen back in love with the Showa era. I just kind of like how tonally different each entry was, and I'm getting more nostalgic towards it, and I love the cheesiness, I love the hokiness, I love kind of just a bit of everything about it. I really love the Showa era. I just recently watched it like a few weeks ago while I've been stuck in this quarantine thing. I just put up movies and just watched the entire Showa era in a span of like a couple days. But I really love the Showa era. That's my first exposure to Godzilla, so I hold it the most dear to my heart. So,
yeah, it was my introduction. I think
because I remember one of my first movies. I think I'd seen the original first. I can't quite remember, but I remember my parents bringing me this like 5-tape VHS set, and it made the face of Godzilla. And the first one I watched on that set,
I have one of those.
The first one I watched was Gigan on that set.
Me too.
Yep, I knew you were gonna say that.
And
But
we have
yeah,
the same VHS copy. I just don't have the other 4.
I used to have my VHS copies, then I got rid of them. And I'm kind of mad because my Sea Monster copy had the better English dub, and it was a different version than what's on the Blu-ray and DVD.
Hmm.
Favorite Showa design? That's really tough to choose. King Goji's pretty cool, but there's some kind of off this mouth. Maybe the Mothra vs. Godzilla design or the Mechagodzilla 74 suit are my favorites.
We'll answer questions later, guys. You can
Well,
ask them. We'll go through it at the end.
Well, it depends on how long we'll be streaming, so I figured I'd just respond to it while we're here. But yeah.
So the Showa era is what started for me as well. I watched Gigan. It was fun. It was kind of crazy, and I think it was a good introduction because that was a really weird movie. It was kind of kid-friendly in some parts, and it was
very
off the
graphic
wall.
and bloody. I mean, Godzilla bleeds profusely. Not as much as Mechagodzilla 74, which I think, you know what, I'm kind of coming around to that being my favorite overall of the original Showa era. The more I watch it, the more I love it.
And there's some weird. I mean, the main character says "bitch," so
He must have thought it was a gun. I know.
What's that? Could you say that again?
Oh yeah, I know that one can get some flack from a lot of people, but I really like that one. I hold that one. I own that one on like VHS twice because like I had the 5-set VHS, and then I went to I stayed the night at a family member's house, and we were at the store, and I'm like, "Ooh, can I watch this?" Or like, "Do you own it?" No. And then we bought like a 2-pack VHS, which had Gigan and Mechagodzilla. I own Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla like 3 or 4 times on VHS because I had it in those 2 sets I was talking about, and then I had a copy that said versus the Cosmic Monster.
Yeah,
but it's the same movie, but the title is different. I kind of want to go and start purchasing and collecting a lot of those old VHSs because mostly for the cover artwork and just to see like kind of the differences in the tapes. Because Sea Monster especially had some very I really wish that I get all these different versions released on DVD because certain VHS versions were different from what was on like a lot of these DVDs and Blu-rays. Like the Showa, like the Criterion set doesn't have the Sea Monster version that I grew up watching. And there's even the DVDs don't have that version because the English dubbing on the DVD and Blu-ray is absolutely awful. It's the worst I've ever heard. But like the original version on VHS that I used to watch was great. It's like as good as it gets. But yeah, that's definitely a con we'll get to in a second.
But yeah, so that was my introduction, was Gigan. And soon after I watched a couple more, and then I got into the Heisei era. And then I am where I am today. So I guess we can just get into it. So
right.
I guess I can do my pros first, and then you can go.
You know, we'll just kind of go over different ones.
Right. How about this? I'll say one. We'll talk. Then you say one. How about that? That works.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm sure I'll come up with more. Because
my first one is it's in my opinion the most entertaining series. And this is, maybe in spite of some of the it's very entertaining, whether it's cheesy entertainment or serious entertainment. I feel like these are the films that I would pick if I was bored. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. There's a lot of crazy moments and fun moments and campy moments that it really is a blast.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say to that?
No, I totally agree. It is very entertaining because it kind of has like a bit of everything. There's a large variety. Whereas you go to kind of like the Heisei series is a lot more serious, and I love the Heisei series too. But the Showa just was kind of a bit of everything. You had the original, which was super dark. Then you go to something like the best of all, Godzilla's Revenge, and you go to that, and then you go to right after that you go to Godzilla vs. Hedorah, and that movie is completely stoned. Like it's unbelievable how many drugs were taken involved in that movie. I'm trying to think what else. Then you go to Godzilla vs. Megalon. He's sliding on his tail and defying physics and shaking hands. Yes, this creature that originally was in a deadpan serious movie is now shaking hands with a giant robot that can apparently grow and shrink in size. It's insane.
Yeah, normal stuff.
Right. It's ridiculous.
but yeah, I mean, I just think that makes for good entertainment. Um, so yeah, that's kind of my first pro. So what did you have first?
First pro, and this is kind of a consistent thing amongst the entire franchise, is the music. I think the most consistent thing in the Godzilla franchise has always been the music, whether it's the Showa, Heisei, Millennium, or the current era, the Reiwa era, or even the legendary stuff. The music for Godzilla is always really, really good. I mean, you have Akari Ifukube, you have Masaru Sato, you had some of the other composers involved there whose names escape me at the moment, but you always had some really consistently good music.
Yeah, I had that as a pro too, so I'm going to skip that one for me. But I think that the themes of this era, they're just classic. There's so many of them. There's a couple in the original. King Kong versus Godzilla is great. Mothra versus Godzilla's intro is awesome. Destroy All Monsters is good. And you can't forget the amazing American intro song to Godzilla's Revenge.
Oh yes, whether it's the American or like the Japanese version, it's like oh, I love
And
it.
by the way, that film is a masterpiece, and I'm holding your feet to the fire on that video.
Oh yes, that's going to come out. It's going to. It really is going to happen.
Yeah, just like the Snyder Cut. Yep.
This will be. I guarantee you, this will be out before the Snyder Cut. Unless the Snyder Cut drops on HBO Max like next month.
Oh my god.
No, it's not going to drop next month. I don't know if and when. Hey, but you know what? It took 30 years for the Donner Cut. I hear it right now.
No copyright. No copyright. I'm not going to play that too long.
It's so good though. Like it's so
Sets the mood, certainly.
yeah. It's fantastic. I just can't get enough of that movie. I can watch it like every day and just never get tired of it because it's the best.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the themes are obviously they're not like that, but they're good and they're
Yeah,
fun.
the Jet Jaguar song.
Oh, Jet Jaga.
And then the best song of all, the King Caesar song, which takes up like 3 minutes of the movie.
God. Yeah, it's like they decided to go like Family Guy musical.
It's like I said, I love the that kind of comes into my next point. The creativity of the show era. I mean, because like the Heisei Millennium were kind of consistent in tone, and like storytelling, but the Showa just went bonkers. I mean, they just did a bit of everything. Like you'd have exilion aliens with magic drugs. You'd have people disguised as cockroaches. You have the undersea kingdom of Seatopia. You had people who build a mechanized Mecha Godzilla to do battle with, and it's great. It's just so much crazy stuff. You had Godzilla's son becoming best friends with a boy named Ichiro, talking, and he can grow in size. It just gets insane, and I love it for that. Godzilla flies. Godzilla can do a tail slide. He jumps up and down. He cusses at Mothra. It's great.
Yeah, and my next pro is in some ways kind of tied to what you said. I said in general it's memorable. Just for the crazy moments. There's so many random clips and random moments you can take from any one of these movies and say that's really memorable. Because and a lot of that stuff was some of it was reenacted in the later movies.
Yes, absolutely. But
yeah, it's it's one of the again like you said like the even something as dumb as the handshake or Godzilla talking or Godzilla laughing at Rodan.
Yeah,
it's
or you can go like even Zone Fighter and the little bits that he showed up for that. He has his own bat cave that he comes out of. It's yeah, Zone Fighter is something that need released like ASAP. I mean, come on, like why isn't it released?
Yeah. So what was your next pro? Did you have any more?
Yes, the next pro I had was the human plots. Now this is a tricky part with monster movies because, like, I mean, obviously not every single one, but there are some human elements that I actually legitimately really enjoy. Like one that's not really regarded as one of the best of the franchise, but I really like the human element to it is Godzilla versus the Sea Monster. You have like a guy who's a thief. You have somebody who's looking for his brother, and then they come across like this evil organization on an island out in the middle of the South Pacific, and they got to rescue the natives. And you had all these crazy bad guys. And yeah, I kind of was following along in that story, even if Godzilla's not really in it that much. I'm still engaged in the human plot. Or Invasion of Astro-Monster. You have Nick Adams, who's actually a really solid actor.
Yeah,
He's great in that movie. He's probably like he's one of the best actors of the franchise for sure.
yeah, I
Um,
like Nick Adams in those early films.
yeah, I liked him in that, and I liked him in Frankenstein versus Baragon. He should have probably been in War of the Gargantuas, but I mean, I still like really love that movie. That's my favorite Toho movie. But I think Nick Adams is really charismatic, and he does a good job with it. But yeah, so human plots for sure. I think because even when you get to like sometimes like with the later series, it kind of just turned into okay, what weapon do we have to do to stop Godzilla? And like there was kind of just nothing else too much around that. It was just kind of like you had your singular goal, which is just to stop Godzilla. You know what I mean? But
Uh,
I still love the Heisei series. But I'm just
yep.
saying, there's some of these other plots would just get kind of crazy, or like Son of Godzilla. I mean, obviously you had Godzilla and the Sun at the core of that movie, but you also had the stuff of them just trying to change the weather. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. This is an interesting human
So,
plot. Or what is it? Ghidorah the three-headed monster. You have them about the assassins and then the princess. And I'm like, what is this in this monster movie? And it's all kind of tied together in some crazy way. But yeah, like I said, the human plots were just very, very interesting. So
yeah, and let's see. I think I have one more here to discuss. Yeah, here's one. I think the Godzilla suits designs look good in this, specifically because they change quite a bit, and this is actually the perfect image to bring up. Um, the designs in this era they go through a lot of changes, and I think it's a positive thing. I think that the Heisei era and the Millennium era, they kind of stuck to one design that they tweaked, whereas this film would go through streaks. So, like two films next to each other looked sort of similar.
mhm.
So, 54 and Raids Again look kind of similar. 62 and Mothra look kind of similar. And then, those mid 60s ones look kind of similar. And then the 70s ones look kind of similar. So, but I like how they varied quite a bit actually.
Right, I like it too. I think I don't know what my favorite suit would be. I like the the Mothra one, and I really like the Mechagodzilla one as well. I forget the names of each suit kind of has their own name in the fandom, but yeah, I definitely like the suits a lot too.
I like King Gochi. 62 is my hands down favorite. Although I like to make the complaint that it kind of gave way to that um, misinformation. What I'm trying to I can't think of the word right now. That misconception that Godzilla is green.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that suit
definitely.
is
He's
kind of
charcoal gray.
green.
No,
So
I think a lot of those VHS covers too, like that set I was talking about earlier, like the size he's charcoal gray, but on the cover he's like purely green. I'm like, why? Like, why is he green? This doesn't make any sense.
yeah,
But
it's on that Gigan copy that I have. It's like on the back, it's like Gigan looks like shit brown, and he's like green. Like it's like what? Looks like moss.
yeah, that's what I mean. It makes no sense. I love some of the covers, but some of it's just like, just why? I guess that can be
Yeah.
considered. We'll get into that in a second, but I still got some more pros. One of the big ones is kind of it kind of ties back to like with the original. It's the commentary behind it, like what Godzilla represents, and like how what the films. There's more to the films than just giant monster. They always have something more to say. Like the original 1954 film was about nuclear war. Because they couldn't tell because the Japanese censors wouldn't allow them to tell a story about Hiroshima and Nagasaki and the horrors of
Yep.
that. So they utilized a giant monster to tell that story. And there's a lot of significance behind that movie. It's a very important movie. Or Godzilla would go on to represent other things like corporate greed and Mothra versus Godzilla. And um, Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, which is about the different powers kind of coming together to unite against a common enemy. Because Ishiro Honda was a pacifist, and ironically, he made giant monsters fighting, but he was also a pacifist, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then Godzilla vs. Hedorah, which is a big environmental message movie, it's super trippy. But yes, like a lot of the villains of the series were very environmental villains, if you kind of noticed. But like even up till now, they still utilize that in the movies, which yeah. But yeah, like I said, the movies represent more than just giant monster stuff. There's a lot more layers to it. I think that's what helps separates this franchise over others. So
yeah. So yeah, I don't know if you have any more pros left.
Oh, I do have some more. This next one is the monsters themselves, Godzilla's opponents and other creatures.
You know what? I was gonna say I was gonna put this one. The reason I didn't is because I'm like, well, they kind of had to start from somewhere because they kind of introduced all the good ones. But yes, it's true that my 5 favorite monsters, well, 4 because King Kong doesn't count. But in my top 4 are all the ones in Gigan, and they're all pretty classic.
Right, absolutely. A lot of his classic opponents. And another thing I'd add to, like I said, we got creative things and we got the mechas too. It just went crazy, and I really love the different monsters, their different personalities. I thought really starting with Ghidorah, the Three-Headed Monster, is where we really started to get a lot more human type traits into the creatures themselves. And I think I really like that element. It sets them apart from other creatures because like animals are curious. If anybody has pets, they act almost human half the time. Like my dog will just sit on the couch like a person. I'm like, why aren't you just laying like a dog? No, she'll just sit there. She'll just sit up like this. I'm like, dogs are so weird. Or cats.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess like even if you don't agree with like maybe instead of putting that as a pro, I guess a pro would be just the diversity of monsters we had. Because there's a lot.
Right, we had robots, we had human cyborgs, we had flying monsters, we had underground monsters, we had monsters that were like grown, like off other monsters, like the Gargantuas. I mean, that's still part of the Showa era too, and still technically within the same universe, from what I gathered.
Yeah. So, but basically, my pros in general were that it's fun, it's really entertaining. There's a good diversity of Godzilla suits and themes. That's another one. Different themes and tones, very diverse themes and tones.
Right. It's like, and I love too, like we have 35 movies and not all of them feel like exactly the same. Like a lot of them feel so different from each other.
They might have similar elements, but they're definitely executed differently.
Right. And I kind of appreciate that. It's kind of like every filmmaker comes in and puts their stamp on the franchise, and we get to see that throughout each film.
And I guess that's actually kind of what the Monsterverse has done, where Mike and Gareth have kind of different movies, different Godzilla looks, different interpretations, and it's kind of just like the old times, really.
Right. They all have put their own little stamp on it, and I appreciate that too, because Mike really respected what Gareth did, and he went out and kind of like tweaked some things, but he still paid a lot of homages to it.
Right. That's what I have for pros in general. I think I'm missing one. Music. We said music.
Music. I was trying to think if there's anything else. I kind of like.
It's just a memorable series.
Right, and one thing I really like too is the character development, especially with Godzilla. Because like if you look at, because the original Godzilla destroyed Japan, obviously, but like he was the first one, died in the first movie, so we've actually really followed the second Godzilla of its kind throughout the rest of the series, which is kind of interesting. But like he actually goes through a legitimate character arc throughout the movies, which is starting out as like a pure villain and then gradually has to kind of overcome those differences and becomes an ally to mankind, like a legitimate. He goes from heel to babyface, heel to anti-hero to babyface. It actually is an organic transition, and you actually got to see other things too. Like they wanted, obviously he became kind of a hero, like he had his own kid, and then towards the end of the Showa series, we see a villainous version kind of mirroring like the original, and turns out to be an imposter. So it's like he's facing his inner demons, kind of like he's facing his former self with his mechanized counterpart of what he used to be before he became a hero. And I really like that too. And I'm like, wow, it's crazy to think that they did this with just a monster.
Yeah,
And he jumps around too. He talks all sorts of crazy stuff. He shakes hands, so it
I
shows
think
his intelligence.
there's two things that I kind of want to close out of my pros with. Two things compared to the other series. I think that this series has Godzilla has the most personality, and I think that it has the best titles. Because after this, especially the Heisei, every movie is Godzilla versus Godzilla versus Godzilla versus. At least this one had some like
1985. That's the other one, but okay.
no, but I'm saying like most of them were verses, and then even I mean, I guess the Millennium was a little better, but there were some more interesting titles. Raids Again, Destroy All Monsters, All Monsters, or Godzilla's Revenge, whatever you want to call it, Terra Mecha Godzilla. So there was some
Yeah.
better titles.
You know, it's crazy to think about. The MonsterVerse hasn't done a versus title until like the fourth movie.
Yeah, that's interesting. That is yeah. Took them long enough. we knew where they were going to get there at some point.
Right, absolutely. But like it, I'm just kind of noticing that now. Like, wow, it took like 4 movies to get a versus title in there.
So I'm going to move on to the cons if you're good with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's other pros we could think of. But like I said, I still am overall a really big fan of the Showa era. It's what introduced me to it all, and yeah, it's very important. I love how I love going through the different eras and just seeing how you get to see how Japanese cinema in general kind of evolved over the years. It's a nice peek at that from the 60s through the 70s through the 80s through the 90s 2000s and all that. It's great. It's a great history through the whole series. Like I can't really think of too many franchises that are like that.
Yeah. Oh, the cons. Oh my
Oh boy.
goodness. Oh no. Oh no. There's bad and everything.
Oh yeah, there's definitely some bad, but I feel like some of the bad too is almost kind of a pro itself. The cheesiness, I'd put that as a pro too. But yeah, I guess I will
So
start out with
yeah, go ahead.
some bad characters. There are some obnoxious characters throughout the Showa era.
Uh,
And even like some like lackluster ones. Even in the first movie, like you really only have Yamane and Shirazawa, but when you get to like Emiko, there's really kind of not much there. Or Godzilla Raids Again, it's definitely my least favorite of the Showa era. I don't really like any of the characters in it outside of the monsters.
you know, as Nick Jackson would say, "Fuck Emiko."
Show series is probably the best. Yeah, I mean, you may be right on that Imperial Cake. Like I said, I used to think Heisei, but I've kind of leaned more towards Showa nowadays. I really love the Showa series, and I love the Heisei as well. But the Showa is really solid. But yeah, there are
Yeah.
some.
So
There are some
Mr.
bad
Taco.
characters. Okay, Mr. Taco's the best.
Mr. Taco's fun, but
Yeah, Mr. Taco's the best. And there are. I should put this as the pros too, because like there are some great human characters. I love Mr. Taco. I love the bad guys in Mothra versus Godzilla. The really rich Torahata and Kumayama. The really slimy, like rich assholes. Who's just like, it's all about money. I lost everything because this. And sure, he's like, here, let's get a picture. Oh, sure. He just puffs smoke on it. It's like, oh, that'd be worth something. What an asshole.
that's
I love
true.
it. Yeah, it comes across as just a real asshole. But yeah, there are some definite bad ones too. That the Keelax, I don't like the Keelax. I think they're kind of lame villains.
Yeah. So here is my first con, and this is something that you had as a pro, but or sort of had as a pro. I think that there's too much repeating the same storyline. There's so many of these films that involve aliens coming and either controlling the monsters or doing something. They come in many forms, which in some ways is a form of making it different. But it's to me it got a little tired. Sometimes it's like okay, like I know that Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster and Invasion of Astro-Monster had their differences, but it's like all right, that's fine. But then Destroy All Monsters is almost like the very similar thing. And then Gigan is a similar one, and then the Mecha
The only
similar.
good aliens are in Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster because they actually try to help people.
And I'm not even saying they're bad aliens. I'm just saying it happens all the time.
No, I meant like good isn't like not evil.
Oh yeah. That's true.
Every time an alien shows up in a Godzilla movie, evil. Every single time, aside from the very first time we get him in the series. But yeah, definitely things can be repeating. Also, bad characters. I'm going back to arguably my favorite, which is Mechagodzilla 74. Um, just the Royal Izumi family. The old man is just a complete asshole who wishes death upon everybody, and yeah, I don't like him. So yeah, there you go. Fuck that guy. Um,
What's your next con?
um, this one, overabundance of stock footage, accepting Godzilla's revenge, because that one actually serves a purpose, and it's very creative when it does it. And well, that video is coming. But yes, a lot of the movies they get really lazy, oftentimes with stock footage. Like when I'm watching Godzilla versus Megalon, like so much of that movie is stock footage. Just randomly, Megalon will turn into the Gargantua. I'm like, what? Like a lot of it's kind of rushed and cheap looking, and there's some inconsistencies there, and it looks really bad. Like there's some, or like Godzilla versus Gigan. As much as I love that one, there is a lot of stock footage used in that movie, and it doesn't match up at all. And it just looks cheap, and it looks, and like not. I mean, the cheapness is kind of a charm factor to it too, and I do appreciate that about it. But sometimes it's like, okay, I've seen this exact footage before, and you're trying to pass it off as new. That can be a little bit problematic. So yeah, definitely overabundance of stock footage.
Yeah, that's something that the Gamera series was a little worse at, but yeah, definitely. Number my second con kind of goes along with one of yours. I have issues with a lot of the characters. I think a lot of the characters are either there for laughs, or they're just really one dimensional. There's a couple that I look at and go, oh, you know what, that was actually interesting, and or I cared about that person. But in general, I felt like a lot of the characters were super bland, and I think that though in some cases I think that the English dubs maybe made them a little goofier or cheesier than they might have actually been.
Mhm.
Even still, some of them are just kind of throwaway, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's definitely some that just kind of like you forget about. Some you don't. I mean, you never forget Mr. Taco. You never forget Corn Guy from Guy Ken. Um, and like some of my favorite villains are the simians, the bad guys from the Mechagodzilla movies. Like the main bad guy in both those is like he's like, I mean, I guess it's his twin. It's the same actor in both movies, but he's playing different character. Pretty much the same characters. One of them is just like he's got his little cigar, he's got his little slim suit that he's wearing, and he just kind of has like this cool quality about him. Um, like he's just so like charismatic and all that stuff. And then you get to Terror Mechagodzilla, like he whips his henchmen after they fail him. He's like, "You're going to be executed." After he whips them repeatedly, I'm like, this guy's a savage. Um, like I said, like there's some memorable ones, like, and then there's other ones that are just so forgettable. Like the humans in Megalon are very forgettable outside of the Seatopian guy, or that's about it. Like the human cast, that's pretty forgettable. I mean, Jack Jaguar is memorable, but like the human cast is not really. Or Hedora, like a lot of the humans in that movie can get kind of forgettable. Or Destroy All Monsters is one. Like the monster stuff's great in that one, but the human stuff I find not so great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do you have what's your next con?
Next con, really some really bad dubs and like too many
Yes.
versions. Like
Yes.
there's like,
You know what? That's exactly my next con, by the way. So that'll be a good conversation.
okay, there are good dubs and there are bad dubs. Like I'm somebody who doesn't mind dubs, but I like quality. Like Mothra vs. Godzilla has a really solid English dub. Godzilla versus Sea Monster. This is an example where there are different versions. I think this is another con too. There's too many versions of some of these movies. Like if it was just English dub over Japanese, I think I'd be more okay with a lot of that. But oftentimes with these movies, you'd get the English. You'd get English dubs, but you get like an international dub and an English dub. Like there'd be two different versions of the dub going out. Like Godzilla, like there's some Toho movies that have this. War of the Gargantuas has this. Like the DVD has two versions of it. There's like the English version, there's the Japanese version, but there's also an international version, which is a different English dub than what's on the DVDs.
Yeah, and along with
usually that third version,
there's like a lot of them are bad. A lot
there's
of them like just totally gut the movie.
Right, exactly. Some of them like are really terrible. Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, the VHS copy I used to have, had a really great English dub, one of the best. Like the same people who did Mothra vs. Godzilla did that dub, but the DVD version, and this is the same case with even Son of Godzilla and I think Destroy All Monsters. Like they had different crews that worked on different dubs. Some of the dubs are really bad on the DVDs and Blu-rays. Godzilla vs. Sea Monster, the DVD dub is awful. I remember when I bought the DVD, I had gotten rid of the tape, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna watch this. I'm like, oh no. I'm like, oh, this beginning's kind of different. This is neat. And I listened to the soundtrack or like the English dub version. It's like, oh wow, yeah, and he's trying to crack jokes. And you have this guy who has they gave him the most obnoxious voice imaginable. And I was just like, oh god, this is awful.
A pretty bad dub is or I guess a lot of the characters are given terrible voices, like in King Kong versus Godzilla, one of the island guys.
That guy.
He was the guy that like gave her. No, was he the guy that?
The guy giving out cigarettes and
no, he could speak to the natives.
That obnoxious guy.
Yes,
reminds me of Don Knotts. Oh yeah, he kind of does. But yeah, there are some really, really bad dubs, and not in like a kind of fun way. Like, I mean, a lot of dubs, like people, there's some of them who did it really well. Like I said, Mothra vs. Godzilla has a really good dub, or Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla has a really solid dub. Is like, damn Godzilla. Like they gave that guy like a cool, classy voice, and I'm like, this guy's great. Or Godzilla vs. Gigan has a great dub. Hard bitch. You cheeky pig. Like I said, some of that's kind of cheesy but fun. Or Godzilla vs. Mechalon. That one's actually like the bad dub actually kind of works in that movie's favor. Help me! Like the little kid at the beginning of the movie. Oh, it was so bad. But part of it was kind of funny. Rise up, Megalon. Just shit like that. But yeah, like some of the shitty stuff kind of makes it fun. But yeah, that's definitely something.
Yeah, I mean, and the worst is probably Raids Again in Gigantus. That I mean, as much as like King of the Monsters kind of changed the story of Gojira and kind of like took less of the anti-American messages away, Gigantus just like totally changed the story through a dub. Like changed the names of things and like
a
huge mess.
Banana oil.
And one thing that I hated about never mind, that's gonna be a rant for another day. Because sometimes they're like Anguirus, and sometimes they call Anguirus Gigantus, and sometimes Godzilla roars like Anguirus. I'm like, oh my god.
Oh yeah, that's some shitty stuff. Oh, we got a comment from Jared. Well, who do you guys think did the best performance in the English dub of the Showa films? I don't know all the voice actors who
Nick Adams.
The best performance in the English dub. Yeah, I guess we'll just go with Nick Adams because he's still dubbing himself over. So, but like other than that, Mr. Taco wins. or the guy who voiced the
monster. Get me a monster.
Yes, or the guy who voiced the simian, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, bad guys. He was great. Damn Godzilla. Mechagodzilla beat Godzilla to death. He just had such a cool voice. He was great. I loved him. But yeah, that was okay. So that was really bad dubs. That's definitely different versions. Kind of got irritating too because you want to own them all, but they're not all available on DVD, and then it just pisses me off. Other version,
another bad. You go ahead. That's fine.
Oh, I was gonna say another con, which can also be considered kind of a pro. Plenty of drugs involved in these movies because there's some weird shit, which can be like some of it's bad. But some of it is so crazy that it's amazing. So I'm kind of combining this. Like Hedorah.
Memorable pro.
Yeah, that's like kind of a memorable. Like that one's, like I said, it's both a pro and a con, but I'm kind of glad they went with it. Because like Godzilla vs. Hedorah, like it's not one of my favorites. It is really weird and trippy, but sometimes it's so far out there, you're just left wondering, the hell did I just watch? Like that's me after I watched that movie. I'm like, and then they had like the guy turns into seeing fish heads, taking LSD. They were on some sort of substances while making these movies. Although it's not the craziest from Toho. If you want to see the craziest from Toho, there's a film called House from 1977. There's a Criterion. I think you can watch it off Amazon Prime. But I bought the Criterion Blu-ray. That is the strangest, craziest movie I've ever seen. And there's a scene where a girl gets eaten by a piano.
It's
And it's so freaking crazy. And it's made by Toho. You gotta watch it, Ryan. You have to watch it. It's insane.
I have so much stuff to watch. But
I know.
Yeah, I mean, Godzilla. I mean, as much as Hedorah gets, is like the drugged one. I think Gigan shows a lot of that too. Some of the songs that they choose in them, the ending song of that movie. Oh my god, it's the weirdest outro song I've ever heard.
For what, Hedorah?
No, for Gigan when Godzilla and Anguirus or whatever are swimming away.
Oh, I kind of love that one.
I know, but it's weird.
And then you have, but then again, it could always be worse. It could always be the King Caesar song, which is both, like I said, that one's both like an annoyance, but I kind of love it now. I'm kind of going through like back and forth with it, where I both hate it and I both kind of love it now because of how obnoxious it is.
Somebody make a 10-hour long version of that. Actually, that'll be in my next video.
Yeah, just post a 10-hour version, King Caesar song for 10 hours. How do people even upload like 10-hour videos? I don't even know. Like, I don't know.
That'd be a good April Fool's Day prank. Just have a premiere. It's just that song for 10 hours.
Just have it playing constantly. No, I can't. I can't do it.
Oh man, that actually went by kind of fast. Are there any?
Oh wait, let's get. Did you guys know that James Hong? Oh, James Hong did. Did not realize that. I just think of when I think James Hong, I think a couple things. I think the Bloodsport movies, because I did those reviews on my channel. Kung Fu Panda, Balls of Fury. Oh, you will sell noodles to all of them.
Aren't those Bloodsport reviews like 7 years old on your channel or something? Or?
Oh, they are. I think I've seen, was it Bloodsport 4 more than anybody on the planet, and I'm not exaggerating because that movie is such a great bad movie. I've seen it more now than I have the first movie, and I actually really like the first movie. I haven't watched those in a long time though, but yep, Shifu. Yep, James Hong. James Hong's awesome. I like James Hong. But yeah, those Bloodsport reviews, God, some of those reviews are like 7, 8 years old now. I'm like, oh fuck.
Jeez. But yeah, that's the pros and the cons of the Toho movie. Jesus, oh my god, I'm losing my mind right now. The Showa movies.
Oh, they're still Toho, but yeah,
yes, they are. But
there's definitely some. There's a lot of pros, there's a lot of cons, but overall consensus, I still love it. I think it's a fascinating look at some Japanese cinema through the 50s through the 70s. I love the way, and I love the way like when they cleaned up a lot of these Blu-rays and that, just kind of the way it's like shot. I think like the films look beautiful.
Yeah,
I think they look great. All things considered. What do you guys think of James Hong appeared in the future Monsterverse? Sure, why not? Bring on James Hong. The more James Hong, the better. But yeah, like I said, I love the Showa series. I'm trying to think what else to say off the top of my head. It's kind of late.
It's just in general, it's just like it's classic, it's memorable, it's there's so much like I said, in the end of the day, whether you think there are more pros than cons, it's still always entertaining.
Right, exactly. Like you have so many different tones. Like you have like the first movie, which is so deadpan serious, and like it's very emotional too. Like there's a lot of heavy emotions throughout. I think I'm going to count that as a pro too. A wide variety of them. In fact, like you go to something like the original 1954 Gojira, just a scene where Serizawa has to sacrifice himself. You have the scene with the girls in the choir. You just have some of this like really dark. That is a very dark, bleak as hell movie. It's very different from the rest of the franchise. I think the closest to that movie in tone is probably Shin Godzilla, but like it's a very dark, haunting, beautiful movie too. Like there's some really emotional moments, like the scene where the mom has her kids and she's like, we're going to join your father very soon as the city's burning to a crisp. I'm like, that's really heavy.
That's just
That's
And
some
then
really dark
there's
stuff.
a
And
scene in like the aftermath where everyone's like crying in the freaking like hospital beds, and it's like, what the?
yeah,
But
like
in
it's
the
really heavy stuff.
American version, it's just Steve Martin like in the rubble.
But like I think the American version too it is very important that that movie because Raymond Burr is a really good actor, and he takes that material like he seriously. He does not phone it
Yeah,
in any of those movies, and he's without him, I don't think the franchise would be where it is today because of his performance, the way he's
that's
able to
very
like
true.
carry, the way he's able to narrate and carry that version of the movie. Now, I know a lot of people don't like a lot of people don't like the fact that that version exists. They think it's blasphemous and all that, but it is very important because it helped change relations between the U.S. and Japan in terms of the movies. It was kind of like an introduction to the series for Western audiences, and then from there, a lot of people went back and watched the original versions, and some prefer that, some prefer the King of the Monster version. Like I like to take the best elements of both because, like I said, I really like Raymond Burr more so than the characters. He's him and Serizawa are my two favorites from both versions of the original film. But I like to take his scenes too, and then add in. I want to cut them together to make like a complete version of
Yeah,
the movie. I'm sure some
that,
versions of that are
that'd
online,
be
but
interesting.
that's definitely something I kind of like to see done. I'm sure it has been, but yeah. And then you have some other kind of emotional moments too, like I'll say this: one of the most heartwarming scenes is when he hugs his son at the end of Son of Godzilla. Like that.
Yeah,
That's actually
he's definitely the most of a more the how am I going to say this? He has the most character out of any era, probably.
right, right, right. I mean, I feel like Legendary's version has kind of like he had a bit of a character arc in King of the Monsters, where he's trying to learn to like coexist with humans again. You kind of see a lot of things. We
And
kind of get a little
we'll
more into that.
probably see that continue in GBK, like his arc with like humans and his relationship and all that.
Right, right, right. Like making peace with Kong and
Or,
some of the other.
or
I mean,
turning on him, who knows?
right, right, right. That's what I mean. I don't think because they kind of marketed him more as like a bit of the hero kind of. So
Right.
and same with Kong too. So that'll be interesting to see. But I want to see his character continue to evolve because you definitely see a little bit more of it in King of the
Yeah.
Monsters than 2014. But
And
like I said, because you get like some of the touching moments between humans and Titans. But
and Godzilla too, when like even Gareth's film, that film, like Godzilla in that film, it follows a Showa movie. It follows like the mid 60s. Godzilla comes and defeats the monster and quote unquote saves the day. So it's kind of like the stereotype of a Godzilla movie or those Showa films.
right, it definitely feels very show-esque in like the way it's structured for sure. Kind of like because like he doesn't show up till later on in the movie, even. Um, I guess you could say like I don't know what the next version will kind of be because like when you think about it, because there's elements of the Heisei that are incorporated into King of the Monsters 2019. So maybe
Oh
the
yeah,
next version
like the
will kind of
sci-fi stuff or the tech and science kind of thing.
right, 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 and like human. I think maybe the next version will incorporate the Millennium.
Hmm.
Like maybe that's the way it's gonna go. I don't know. We got a comment here. Do you guys think a Karataka should be the Stan Lee of the MonsterVerse since he was gonna have a cameo? I just like to see him show up. I
Well,
just want to see.
they've already missed their freaking shot, haven't they? He made movies.
Yeah. I wanted to see his cameo. Everyone wants to see his cameo. Like I don't know why it hasn't been released. Hey, if Mike can just post that video of Stents getting blown to bits, they could probably show the Takarada cameo.
Right. I mean, we should do every single release the Snyder Cut comment reply, release the Takarada scene until
It's
people.
probably only like a 60-second scene.
I know. It's
But
just him. I think it was just probably. I think it might have been Aaron Taylor
there's
Johnson.
deleted scenes for that movie that we haven't seen, and I want to see those deleted and alternate scenes. Why can't they just put them on the freaking Blu-ray? Get us a new transfer while you're at it too, because why is it that in King of the Monsters, the 2014 scenes I can actually see, but not in the original like 2014 Blu-ray or digital copy?
Yeah, that the Akira Takarada scene. Pretty sure was just Ford Brody like checking it at like the prison that, or maybe it
Joe.
was the airport.
Yeah, I think it was the airport.
Yeah, that makes more sense. All right. Well, everybody, wait, I gotta give the shout out now for the for the channel. Ready? Look at that. That is
there you
night. Look at that.
go. That is
And
nice.
look at this, 69 views. Nobody watch that anymore, please. Don't add to the view count. We did rip-offs. We did the Snyder Cult, the Cola Wars, the video stores, the 90s Florida Man. We've been all over the place.
I'm going to post a link to that on my channel for people to check out for the Snyder Cut thing. I'll get the DC fans in on it because I did the channel shout out for everybody, but I'll give an individual shout out. And of course, Shut Up Sean right at the top.
And we're going to have to make a dedicated Florida Man episode.
Yeah, just
at some point. It's got to happen. Florida Man has a bit of a character arc in our show. So
yeah, Florida Man's just he's constantly going around doing some crazy shit. Florida Man spread COVID around to everyone.
Yes, it was. He ate a bat. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. Go check out JT's Reborn and Cake Every Night because they're both important. And check out Nick Jackson while you're at it. Check out Cinematic Trash while you're at it.
Check out everybody. This is fun.
Go to my featured channels.
Yes, definitely. Go check out the featured channels. We talked for about 50 minutes. I had fun talking shit. Sometimes I stumbled and said ooh, ah, a lot, but it's been fun. I hope everyone's staying safe out there while we're all locked indoors.
Yeah. And you know what? Now looking back at it, I really should have edited this thumbnail to say Snyder Cult, but I guess it's cut off by the time anyway. But yeah, everybody, thanks for watching. Sean, thanks for coming on. And
thanks for having me.
What are your biggest pros and cons of the Showa series? Let us know.
Yeah, let us know in the comments section down below, and we'll talk about this stuff some more.
All right. Well, Daddy's home.
Cake every night.
Now it's going to ask me to confirm to end, which is great. Cake every night.